Hey guys, it's Hennessy here, and I just wanted to give a quick preface for this video that I'm uploading today, which actually comes from the vaults. If you're a fan of TED Talks and videos that break down human behavior and the ways that people work, I think you'll really get a kick out of this. Back in 2015, I had this question arise of why do we love music? And why do we make music? And where did it come from? And what purpose does it serve in the human existence? So I went and did a bunch of research on it, went to a park near my house and gave a presentation. I watched it again today and thought that it was particularly relevant with some of the things that have been going on in my life and the lives of my friends and the world in general over the last half a year. So I wanted to present it again to you guys. So this is Why Do We Love Music? And with that, welcome to my TED Talk. Check it out, guys. We're in Earl Bales Park in Toronto, Canada. This is one of my favorite parks. I've been coming here my whole life. Actually, you can see the ski lifts here. I've been coming here snowboarding for many, many years. And this is one of my favorite topics to talk about today that we're going to be getting into, and that is music philosophy. Why do we love music? What makes music so special, and why do we enjoy listening to music so much? Why is it integrated into our everyday lives? I thought it might be a good place to start the talk going into the origins of music and where it comes from. After doing a little bit of searching around through Wikipedia and things like that, what I understand is that music actually predates recorded history, and we're not entirely too sure on where it comes from, but people theorize that it might be as old as 50,000 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. And music was, at least theoretically, used in isolated tribes for tribes to identify their other tribe members and to locate other tribe members and to call out to other tribes. And it might have had its roots coming from places such as Africa, and was emulating things in the environment. So the sounds such as maybe the rain falling down or a waterfall or the wind passing through. I'm sure you can probably hear the wind on these recordings, and I'm sorry about that. Maybe you can make some music about it. And music then went on to become a divine worship of the gods, and people created gospel music from that, which is some of the most beautiful music ever composed, and it still gets used in churches today. Then you had things like slavery, and slaves would have their pickaxe keep on coming down, and they formed a rhythm out of that, and eventually made the blues music out of it. And blues music actually still has its roots in modern music today. You also had things like bards would go and present songs to kings, and if the king saw any imperfection in the songs, off with their head. Now, people just listen to it for everyday entertainment nowadays. You're not going to get your head cut off if you play the wrong note on a guitar, so I think that's probably a healthy evolution in society. So that's where music came from, and now let's go a little bit deeper into why we love it so much. Hello.
Come here. Just say hi.
All right, guys, we shot out a little bit deeper into the woods, and I wanted to bring up the first major point of this video, which is art is expression where words alone are not. And I'll say that again. Art is expression where words alone are not. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Have you ever been listening to a piece of music and realized that there's just a certain intangible quality to it, and that having the idea presented alongside music is now a little bit more powerful? It's a little bit of a vague concept to grasp, but you know it to be true after listening to so much music throughout your life and getting goosebumps at certain songs. It's definitely true that it's a little bit more powerful. This applies for things such as movies, and some could even argue video games are a well-prepared dish. And I believe this to be true because not only are our brains involved in this, but so are our senses. Now, isn't that interesting? You have something like music, which is very clearly auditory, and then visual art, well, visual, obviously. Things like movies that will combine multiple senses, and they provide a greater depth of experience. Say that someone came up to you and said, "Oh man, I'm heartbroken, girlfriend just dumped me, and now I'm really sad." You might feel bad for the person, but you kind of understand it more from a place of logic than experience. And people generally tend to understand things in greater depth once they've been experienced not only logically, but emotionally and experientially as well. And art gives us the chance to do that because it really is something tactile that we can experience with our senses rather than just understand. The psychologist Klaus Scherer had an interesting theory about this that I'll kind of paraphrase. And he thinks that the experienced emotion in music is sort of divided up into 4 parts. And those are structure, the performer, the listener, and the context. So we'll go a little bit deeper on those, but the structure basically is talking about what kind of a song is this? What tempo is it at? What key is it in? Is it major and nice and happy, or is it minor and sad? So you had something major like Happy Birthday. I don't think that anyone here is listening to Happy Birthday feeling depressed about life. Maybe they are, and maybe you need to go see Klaus Scherer, the psychologist, and he could help you out with that. But something like Moonlight Sonata would be a much sadder song in structure. Then you have something like the performer who's performing the song. How skilled are they? What level of musicianship are they at? But beyond that, how present are they and in what state are they in when they're performing their song? Then you have the listener, which is just who are you as a person? What experiences have you been in throughout your lifetime, and how do you relate to the song that is being played right now? And the last one is the context. And I mean, if you're sitting in your office and you're working on some document, hearing a song might not have the same impact as if you had heard that same song being played at your wedding as you and your wife are dancing to it for the first time. So it's just kind of made up of those four things, at least he theorizes, and I agree with, which are the structure, the performer, the listener, and the context. Check out what I just spotted. Let's go. Wow. Whoa. I actually really go inside there, eh? So why do we love music? Why do we come to a big old auditorium like this and say, hey you, mister with a microphone, tell me a story, sing me a song? Well, I think part of it is we just like to relate to people. When we see that someone else has made themselves very vulnerable, it helps us feel more valid and assured in our own feeling toward a similar situation. But it goes a little bit deeper beyond that as well. Let's go back to that example I was talking about before, where the guy says, oh man, I'm so sad. My girlfriend dumped me. I'm going to be depressed for a long, long time. And you might say to them, oh man, I'm sorry to hear. I really feel bad for you. And you might really feel bad for them. But that's coming more from a place of logic. And people tend to understand things better when it comes from a place of experience. And with art, you do get to have that experience through your senses. So it's plausible to say that it connects on a more personal level, because rather than a story being told, it's an experience shared. So now when they say, my girlfriend dumped me, I am sad, you feel bad for them, but you also feel bad for yourself. Isn't that kind of funny to think about? It's also interesting to see the healing power that art can have for people. They've taken clinically depressed patients and made them listen to sad music. And through sharing that experience of sadness with an artist, they felt better. And isn't that kind of funny to think about? I mean, like sad plus sad equals happy. And I don't think that came from a place of comparison or anything like that, where they're like, oh, look at this person. They're a famous artist. And they're sad. I can feel better about myself by comparison to them. No. It's like it reminds them how human of an experience it is to go through a situation like that. And being able to experience it with someone else actually has a healing quality. All right, well, I'm at the Earl Bale Bonfire Pits. This is actually a really special place for me because I used to come here all the time when I was a teenager, and when I was in my first couple of years of college, and partied a bunch with a bunch of really close friends, and even met some of my closest friends at this exact spot. I haven't been here for a number of years, so I'm happy to be back here, and the people who know who they are, who I'm talking about, hello, thank you for watching. I thought this would be an appropriate place to actually talk about music through the ages, and as you grow, how your sense of music deepens. But first we're going to talk about listening to music as an infant. There's a lot of interesting studies that are done on this, but we have a much more innate sense of music than I kind of realized before I started researching into this a little bit. Guys might have heard some of these studies saying that if you play classical music for a child who is either in the womb or beneath the age of 1 year, that kid actually becomes smarter. Now, that's a pretty crazy claim to make, I get that, but there's a lot of people that have some pretty interesting things to back that claim. There's not quite enough evidence yet to scientifically prove it, but a lot of people have made this claim, and it's a pretty strong indicator toward the potential of music in a young child. And I mean, if you play music for a young child, you can kind of just like see their eyes light up, and they almost go into a trance listening to it. And listening to music actually helps an infant bond with their environment. And even more strongly, if the parent sings music for the child, it helps them bond with the parents. And that's also scientifically proven. So that's why you have parents singing Rockabye Baby and You Are My Sunshine, which, as a side tangent, those are actually both really dark songs and have very tragic endings, but we won't go into that. So playing things like lullabies and classical music for a child, things with calm and harmonically pleasant tones are very positive for the child, and this is also why I will never play Metallica's Master of Puppets for my nephew ever again. I know it was wrong, and I'm sorry that I made you cry. Just kidding. Also, as you get older, your sense of music deepens. Allow me to make a little bit of an analogy here, okay? So take something like meditation, where you sit for 20 minutes every day and you breathe and you ground yourself in the present moment. Now that's something that you could explain to somebody, and they might get it logically, but it's something they need to experience. You can't just tell someone like, oh, well, you just sit there and you get present to the moment, and when your mind wanders off, you just bring it back and become present to the moment again. And that might make sense logically, but you do have to go through the experience in order to fully understand what that really means and all the ramifications of it. The same is true with music. I believe if you listen to more music over time, that sense of music actually deepens within you. And the more types of music that you expose yourself to, it's actually going to make you gain a greater appreciation for more different types of music. Go figure, right? It's like the state that you find yourself the most often in, or the activity that you're doing the most often, becomes like a default state. And like just listening to music over and over and over again will ground that within you, that listening to music is pleasant, especially if you're listening to music in pleasant scenarios. So, and obviously you have different types of music that suit different venues, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I wouldn't want to be listening to like club top 40 when I'm going to the masseuse for a massage or something like that. I want to listen to something more calm. But if someone out there knows of some crazy masseuse in the downtown club district they've been to, please tell me in the comments below. That sounds like quite the range of emotions to experience. All right, so it's my belief that music has two main functions, and that's to convey a feeling and to convey an idea. And we've created different genres in order to fulfill different purposes within music. Let's take rap music as an example. Now, to me, rap music seems to be a genre that's based on conveying an idea, and usually the same idea over and over. I mean, that's a common criticism and stereotype of rap music, is that it's all about the money and the bitches and the bling and everything like that. But what I think a lot of people are missing is that rap music is very much about how to explain that idea many different ways. They're not exploring the who, what, where, when necessarily as much as the how. And that's pretty interesting, because to do that, they need to use very complex forms of literary devices and insane lyrical structures, metaphors, similes, and just things that you won't find in many other genres of music. Now, on the polar opposite end of the spectrum, we have country music, and that is almost entirely based in conveying a feeling, and that can be done through storytelling as well. But normally, that's sort of like a genre that tries to tug at your heartstrings and be very direct and to the point, and it wouldn't really make sense to go using the crazy amounts of literary devices and the hows that rap music does. So we create different genres for different purposes. Another thing I want to talk about really quickly is I think that people could argue that the value of music has decreased over time, especially when you consider things like how in the 1800s you might only ever hear your favorite piece of music 2 or 3 times in your life. You would have to walk into some type of tavern where a pianist is playing your favorite piece of music, or go see your favorite musician in concert, for example, which is still something people do today. But I think the opposite is true, actually. I think that over time we've developed a greater sense of musicality. Going back to that music meditation analogy I was using before, we now have the ability to listen to as much music as we want. We could listen to our favorite song until we're sick of it. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going and listening to your favorite song until you hate it, but you could. We didn't have that ability until very recently within human evolution, and along with the technological advancements that we've had and the introduction of the MP3 players, music has become such an integral part of life that I think that's probably the main art form in existence right now. I'm not saying it's any better or worse than any other art form out there. I'm just saying it's the one that people tap into the most. Music can be both passive and active, which is kind of interesting. Again, you could be listening to it at the office, and it's just background. or you could be at a concert and it's completely foreground and you're there only for that purpose. So I think that now actually we have the ability to appreciate music now more than ever. We're at a point where we can absorb more of it than we could before, and it's completely integrated into our lives. I'm going to read a quick study that I found from McGill College. So a 2001 experiment done at McGill used brain scans to study the neural mechanics of the goosebumps that great music can sometimes induce. They found that the brain structures activated are the same regions linked to other euphoric stimuli such as food, sex, and drugs, which is why most music are usually about those things. Blood flow in the brain rises and falls to swells of music in areas associated with reward, emotion, and arousal. As stimulation for food and sex are important for an organism's survival, the fact that similar neural activity is observed in responses to features in music suggests that there could be some evolutionary advantage to the ability to hear or hum a good tune. In conclusion, music is a bridge between generations, between cultures, languages, infants who can't understand us yet, and maybe even other species, for all we know. It is words where words are not enough and can significantly deepen and increase the quality of one's life. As to the specifics of why music does this to us, I don't think we'll ever 100% understand. And to be quite honest, I'm kind of glad that it's that way. I don't think we're ever supposed to understand it fully in logic, because if we did, we might not have ever needed to convey it through art in the first place.